Yeah, no, you can't moan about a bite if you've put your own fingers in somebody's mouth. Sorry, that's just yeah.
And
Um,
totally unnecessarily as well. It was James Donaldson who should have been cited, if anyone,
yeah,
from that incident. Anyway, but yeah, and Jamie Ellis went on to have a few nice moments, didn't he, in the second half as well, to make the second half look respectable from
mm,
the Leeds Rhinos from the Hull Kings Rovers point of view though. The Simbin Fravor say you man thing, I'm surprised that didn't cause any more consternation amongst the disciplinary either, because it looked like a direct shoulder to the head to me.
yeah. I thought it was harsh but consistent because it was direct contact with the head, so I had no problem with it. As a yellow card for me because it is direct contact with the head. It has to be a card nowadays.
Oh, I had no issue with it being a yellow card. My surprise is that there was nothing on the rap sheet for Avis. It may be they just couldn't spell his name when they did the disciplinary panel meeting, so they skipped it.
Yeah, you should see how I've written it in my notes. It's interesting.
Well, the thing is, they can't be consistent with the spelling of names of players who've been in Super League for a decade plus. So one like Ava Sayumanafanai, who's a relatively new player in Super League. Well, let's just call him Ava all the vowels. That's a good name. I love it when someone's name has got all the vowels in it. Oh, he hasn't. He hasn't got an O. Oh,
there's no O.
There's no O. I've let myself down.
Yeah, but there's a G that sounds like an N. So that's fun.
Yeah. But in terms of other things to pick out of this try, Reece Martin was particularly good, wasn't he, for Leeds Rhinos? He did a lot for them, which you don't often see second row players getting man of the match in big, heavy, one-sided games, which just shows how good he was across the board.
I haven't really picked out a Leeds player. I've the things I've made a note of were how I think it's been picked up in the reviews about how poor KR's defence was. Like both for the aforementioned Seaman and Harry Newman's tries, they were very, very loose kind of defensive play kind of stuff. So I've said that could you score 48 and not look impressive? I think that's what Leeds managed to do, and it's not necessarily to detriment to them or indeed individual players. They just didn't have a lot to beat for me. But yeah, I'm not saying he had a bad game by any means, but yeah, I haven't really talked a lot about Leeds players because for me there wasn't much. They didn't have to perform particularly well. There wasn't a player who needed to do more than a 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I must admit I didn't watch the game all in one go. I turned it off.
I can understand
shortly
that.
after half time, and I watched the rest of the game on the Saturday morning when everyone was still in bed because it just wasn't that interesting.
It wasn't exciting.
No, although something that was exciting was Harry Newman, the try that he scored where he sort of put on that great piece of footwork to evade the first tackle, then just put on the gas to find a gap. It's the kind of thing that we've seen Mark Percival do from the other side of the pitch for St Helens. So Harry Newman's a real talent, isn't he? I would say quite ugly. Is that fair? But an insane talent. I'm a massive fan of the kid. Really am. Can't speak highly enough about his rugby playing ability.
I was going to say I'm not in a strong enough glass house to be throwing stones about people's looks, but I thought Myler looked good.
I'm not saying I am, but
no, I'm not saying you are. I
just feel like we need to throw some excitement and controversy into the comments about this game.
No, I mean the one thing I would say, Myler looked good at fullback as he has started to do on a quite regular basis. Gale always looks better when his forward pack is dominating the opposition. The frustration from me, from KR's point of view, and I'm thinking particularly about Litton's try, it just showed if they actually got a bit of a roll on and had a quick play of the balls, they could be quite dangerous. And the frustration is they weren't able to do that from the start of the match. There's no point drawing the second half when you're 30-0 down at half time, because that's actually worse than getting pasted 60-0, because it shows, well, hang on a minute, where was this in the first half? Do you know what I mean? It's massively frustrating if you're a KR fan, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the Ash Hanley injury and then the save man of an eye, Simbin immediately after kind of put Leeds on the back foot. If a team that are 30-0 up could be put on the back foot at the start of the second half. But The first 20 minutes was the game gone, wasn't it? It was 24-0 after 20 minutes. That's it. Terrible, terrible start from Hull KR, but well done to Leeds for capitalising.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another absolute cracker. Possibly the best game we've seen since the season resumption. Saturday afternoon in the sunshine at Salford, Warrington and St Helens emerged from under the same stand, from which I thought was a bit weird. Like, surely they must be able to hear each other's team talks and stuff, because if you've been to Salford, you know under the back of the stands is open all the way across.
Yeah, it's just a shed, isn't it, basically?
But anyway, I would have thought they'd be at opposite ends of the stadium. But anyway, the final result was Warrington 20, St Helens 18. It was a bit of a fight back from Saints, even though they didn't manage to pull it off, because it was 16-8 at half-time in favour of the Wire. Chris Kendall was the referee. We had a few views on this one. One from both sides, some from both sides of the fence as well, which is good. Do you want to crack on with the first one of them?
Yep, so St David says, started well with a lovely try. Thereafter, too many restart penalties and errors gave Wyatt an extra 13 set of tackles in the first half. That killed us. Brave effort second half. Bit of luck for Wyatt with the headed assist, but they deserved it.
Yeah, David Hunter says, what a game, worthy of a final. Wire just seemed to win the little moments more often. I have no nails left after the end and just hope that Tyre wouldn't continue to get the ball because he looked likely every time. For Warrington, Gelling was great, Ashton good, but it was a great all-round performance. It does prove that Saints are beatable in finals games. And he also says, sorry, I forgot to mention the try off the head. The best part is that an incident in the South Queensland Crushers versus Parramatta Eels game in the late 90s has transcended to become this term Falcon. Yeah, and most people don't even sort of remember that it's just because no one has another way of describing someone from Malta other than calling them the Maltese Falcon, is why it ended up being the Falcon as well, isn't it? Because wasn't it Maltese international or Maltese heritage player? I don't even know if he played internationally, from Mario Finec, wasn't it?
Because obviously this is a Bossy thing, isn't it? Most famously as a term, and I found it, because I've tried to look it up before and I found it impossible to search for because of the word Falcon is very common. Yeah, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain it was. I'm fairly certain it was Mario Finec was the player who a pass went and hit his head, went through the other side of the defensive line, and then he scored a try from it. I think that's what happened. I mean, it was before my time of really watching it, but yeah. But I've seen the clips of it and stuff, and his nickname was the Maltese Falcon because he's Maltese Australian, and like I say, no one's got any way of describing people from Malta other than calling them the Maltese Falcon. I think, but yeah, we'll talk more about that, I guess, in not the origins of the term Falcon, but the try itself in a moment.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about that, it reminds me of that clip of the deliberate headed ball forward that I've seen before it became outlawed. I think that was a Saints player doing that, like in the 70s or 80s. If anyone remembers that, I'm basically talking to Joshua's granddad here.
Yeah.
If you can remind me who that is, then please do so.
Our heritage consultant, John,
yeah.
Get in touch.
Yes. So onto the Warrington perspective, Lee Whitnell says, you'd think beating Saints in important games will get boring after a while, but it doesn't. Once again, they looked great at the start. Once again, we had a crucial decision go our way. And once again, we emerged with the spoils. cook it on a spoon and inject it right into my arm. Fucking glorious.
Yeah, beating Saints at the moment is real rugby league nirvana. It doesn't come around very often, does it? So you have to enjoy it
It's
while
very
you
Moorish.
get the chance.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be coming around relatively regular for Warrington. I mean, the final of the Challenge Cup last year, the semi-final of the Super League the year before. That's what Lee's talking about there. So, absolutely fantastic game with 6 brilliant tries and one. And then the one try that we're all talking about was the one not brilliant try, but it was a legitimate try, Al.
It was. It's not deliberate but fortunate, I would say. but yeah, it's this is the thing. I mean, other weeks that game kind of bounces straight off his head, doesn't it, and goes to a Saints player and he goes the other way. So
well, that's it. If it had bounced off the back of his head a bit more, it would have gone behind Charnley, and it would have been Regan Grace picking it up, and see you later, the game's gone the other way.
Yeah. But no, I mean, David, he covered it right. I mean, the Saints' first try was fantastic. But yeah, the note I've got about changing the momentum for me was Coote's mistake from Austin's kick. That kind of felt like it changed the momentum of the match. Not that it didn't change back again. Obviously, it was a real backwards and forwards match, this one. But when
he missed the trap on the kick that resulted in being a 40-20, because at that stage Warrington were not making meters to get out. This was in the first quarter of the match, wasn't it? And I always question people taking a penalty that early in a game, but it's a cup game and they were expecting it to be close, so I understand why Lachlan Coote kicked the 2 to take it to 8-0 just before the sort of 20-minute mark. But it felt like after that, when you combine in the kick that became the 40-20, it really did make Warrington think we can get away with this. Not bad start, but get away with being the team that were on the back foot. And like I said, that beautiful Johnny Lomax try. What an exceptional play. The amount of Saints players available for what was a little bit speculative, I felt, from Percival, the offload. But he knew all his mates were there, so he knew someone was going to grab it and score.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Percival going off.
And Wellesby.
And the disruption that caused, do you think that had some kind of influence on the break that the kind of breaking momentum that Saints had?
A little bit, because actually the Percival injury meant that they ended up with Bentley, didn't they, in that centre? And whilst we've talked gloriously about Bentley's performances since restart, he was up against. And until the legal matter is resolved, I'm reluctant to give him praise, but you can't not give him praise for this performance. Anthony Gelling, and up against Gelling in that sort of form that he was in, by far the best form I've seen him show for Warrington. It's going to be a tough job for a regular centre to work on, for a backup player to work on, who in every piece of skill that Regan Grace is taking high kicks isn't one necessarily, so he wasn't going to offer much support in that regard either. So whereas Gelling is fantastic in the air, that was a problem that Warrington exploited and identified. But you had to deliver the skills, and the take and put down for his first try, the offload for Charnley's first try. They were, delivering the skills, but it helped a little bit. I don't think it was match defining, but I think it helped definitely.
Yeah. But I mean, that kind of end of the first half was obviously Warrington's best patch, particularly that which you've talked about the first two, but I think the third try was my favourite. Yeah. Breaking from deep. That was beautiful.
And that was over the other side of the pitch.
It was, yeah.
Jack Wellesby maybe had just picked up the injury at that stage. I'm not sure. He went off just after that try was scored, I think. But yeah, that was phenomenal play.
So, well-deserving half-time lead, even though they'd kind of been well behind. And then we had a couple of, desperate goal line kind of tackles, didn't we?
Well, Austin's tackle on Regan Grace was as significant as Austin's 40-20, I thought, as well. because it did seem like Saints were making more of the running at that stage of the game. And when
Yeah,
the second
they'd
half
come
started
out
again.
with